Hello and welcome to Business Conversations. I'm John Anderson, your host, and with me today is Len Farr and Jay Farr, and we're here today at Farr's Hardware in downtown Coos Bay, Oregon. So,
Farr's True Value Hardware.
Thank you very much.
I didn't think he'd let you get away with it.
All right. So thank you so much for having me in today to visit with you, and you know, we've known each other for a number of years, and
Yes.
and you've got a great business here, and I just, you know, am excited to talk to you about some of the history of your business. So your business has been in, 92 years, maybe more, you were saying.
Yes. Yeah, it started in 1916,
Ah,
so that's 92 years.
yep, yes.
It was started actually by Cecil J. Elwood,
Oh, okay.
who was a resident here or in Coquille, and that's where the business started. And we didn't come here to Coos Bay until, to Marshfield actually,
Oh,
in 1926.
1926.
Yeah,
That's
10
when you opened
years.
the first store.
Yeah. The sixes are, in my mind, implanted because the business started in 1916, 1926, the store here
Coos Bay.
in Marshfield,
Marshfield, yeah. It
Yeah,
was called
which
Marshfield at the
became-
time.
Coos Bay. And then in 36, we moved the store in they moved the store in Coquille up to 220 North Central Avenue, and that's where we're still located today.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Jay and I were speaking this morning, and he was giving me some background on the history and told me about Cecil and about Chester. Your Chester was your father.
Chester C.
Yeah, Chester C. And Chester was offered a job as the agricultural agent.
Yes, he came here in 1919
Ah.
as agricultural agent of Coos County.
Uh-huh. And that was for the college at the time, Oregon State Agricultural College?
It was associated with the college, yes. That's right. And he was a graduate of Washington State College. He was a Cougar
Oh, okay.
in the class of 1913.
Oh, boy.
And he had lived all of his life in that area.
In upstate Washington.
I call it Northeast Washington.
Yeah, now that's near, let's see, what's it?
Well, it's south of Spokane.
Yeah.
And
Pullman. Yeah.
Pullman is the city, and actually my dad was born in Pullman.
Oh, all right. So now, Jay was telling me that when your dad bought the business, he was 31, and that was the year that you were born?
Yes, I was born in 1921.
1921.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he bought the business on January the 1st of 1921.
And he bought it from Cecil.
Yes.
He bought it from Cecil, and then a few years later, Cecil came back into the business?
Well, it was either 1923 or 24 that Cecil came back to Dad and said, I now realize, Chet, that I'm not a farmer.
Ah.
He had sold the business because he wanted to go over and work in his farm, which was in the Coquille Valley. And then he came back and suggested to Dad that they become partners. Actually, they incorporated
Oh, okay.
at that time, and the business became Farr and Elwood.
Farr and Elwood.
Yes.
So now, so that was 3 years later. So they still had the business in Coquille, and then it was later, several years, when together they began the business here in Marshfield at the time.
Yes. Well, I dated 1926.
Okay. Great. Great.
And the building was basically where we are today, except about 50 feet south.
Oh, okay. In
Coos Bay.
Oh, in Coos Bay.
Yeah, so the
and,
building that was built in Marshfield
yes,
was basically on the same property that we're on today.
Oh.
In getting ahead of the story, but in 1979, this building was built.
Oh.
And we built it while still operating out of the store that was built in 1926.
And then
we tore down
that, and that's what's
most
the parking
of that.
lot now.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. Well, that's really interesting. Huh. So, so let's see. So, you know, how did you start getting involved? I mean, you were a young boy probably, and you know, how did you get involved in the business over the years? Did you help out summers?
Well, you realize that being born in 21, I was a kid all through the Depression years.
Oh, yeah.
And I had the opportunity to become the janitor, you might say, sweep the floor of the old building in Coquille at the age of 12. And that's when I first started working at the store. Yeah, so I've been at it for a long 74 years.
That's a lot of floors that we've And then now you said then that that Mr. Elwood, that Cecil and his wife were killed in an auto accident in the 41.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Cecil had gone up to Portland to have some dental work done, and on the way back out near Gresham, they were hit by a lady who was suddenly came at them across the line in the highway, and hit them head on, and she was going very fast, and it killed them. Eventually, killed them both.
I'm sorry.
Neither one of them ever was able to even get back home before they passed away.
Yeah. So, were you involved in the business at that time? You were about 20 at the time. You were probably
I was at the University of Oregon.
Yeah.
I graduated from Coquille High in '39, and then I went to Eugene, and as my brother had done, and my sister also, Donald and Edith.
Oh, okay. And what did you study?
I studied business.
There we go. What a surprise.
Yeah.
And so did you do like a 4-year degree in business, or?
Well, not at that time. After 3 years, after my junior year, I was drafted.
Oh yeah.
And I went into the Army and went through World War II, 3.5 years. I was one of Patton's boys in Europe.
Oh boy. So then, after the war, you came back and came back. Oh, who ran the business while you? Well, your dad ran the business while you were off.
Well, my brother.
Oh, your brother did.
Really ran the business.
Oh, okay.
And Mother and Dad were anxious to start traveling.
Sure.
Dad had a real passion for traveling, and I guess I inherited that one. And so when I came back after World War II in '46, I had the opportunity, because I was already a part owner of the business. Joyce and I were married down in Alabama while I was in the service, and she came down, and we were married there. And so after the business, after we were married, my father offered us an ownership, part ownership of the business. And so the three of us, Donald, my older brother, and Dad and I formed a partnership. And that gave me a chance to share in the profits while I was in the service.
Good, good. So then you came back from the service, and now we're talking in the 50s, and let's see, when were you born, Jay?
I was born in 1950.
Okay.
So about 30 years
Right.
separated each of the generations in our family.
Yeah. So and now, so how did you get involved in the business, and how did you proceed to train Jay? Did he take over the janitor position from you?
Well, all of our children, all four of them, had a continual opportunity to work in the business.
Yes.
At one thing or another. And of course, Jay, being a boy, was working in the store. The girls, pretty much, except for Janet, our youngest one, she did in the store, but the other two did mostly, Susan and Nancy did work in the offices.
Okay.
But Jay was able to do a lot of the work in the store, and particularly packaging feed into small packages and that sort of thing. And
At that time, I guess I might interject here that we were still very much a feed store and a grain store, as well as hardware in the front end. And so the location of our business here in Coos Bay is right along the railroad tracks, and we would get railroad cars of feed and hay and other commodities
that you could then package.
that needed to be unloaded, stacked,
right.
and then loaded into customers' cars.
Good work for teenagers.
And so, yeah, along with the, I started also in the office, but I soon moved out to where I was emulating some of the other clerks and carrying the bags of feed.
Buck and hay.
Yeah. I had a strict weight limit, as I recall, of 25 pounds. But
okay.
But I occasionally cheated a little on that.
Yes,
as I had done.
Good. So, so let's see. Did you go off and get some education? What
Yes.
kind of?
Yes. All of my sisters, two that were older and one younger, and I have gotten undergraduate degrees at least. And
Where did you go to school?
We've all gotten graduate degrees, come to think of it. We have one doctor. My younger sister, Janet, is a doctor in music.
Wow.
And well, I had the opportunity to go away to school. I was accepted by Yale University and a number of other schools, but Yale was really hard to turn down.
Really?
And so I made the trek to Connecticut. And my degree was not in business. My undergraduate degree is in chemical engineering.
Oh, okay. From mixing all that feed.
Yeah, right. And so that's what I did for an undergraduate degree.
And then what did you do?
Well, and then I got accepted to business schools for an MBA program.
Oh,
and,
wonderful.
Spent 1 year working in between undergraduate and graduate work, and got my MBA from Stanford.
Oh.
Out in California.
Not too shabby.
Master of Business
Yes.
Administration.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's great. So I'm sure you put that to good use.
Well, yes, there are a lot of things that I use every day from both the science background and the business degree. So I'm not sure that it's the perfect combination of education for running a hardware store, but it's worked well for me.
Yes. Yeah. So now we were talking earlier also about other work, and I know you've been involved in other organizations, and you've been on the board of a national, at least one national organization connected with the hardware business. And Jay, did you, when you were back east, did you have other jobs? Did you get some other business experience, or is
well,
it
my outside business experience was a summer that I spent in Holland, working for a research firm in Holland. That was part of my decision-making process that I didn't want to become an engineer, I guess. And then the summer in between my business school years, I worked in Chicago for a Jewel food company.
Oh, all right.
Doing a project for them. So that's been my outside business experience.
Mm-hmm.
And Dad has some more interesting experiences.
Yeah. So yeah, tell us, give us a little snapshot there of a couple of highlights.
Besides being in the Army, which was a terrific experience to begin with.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that what you're referring to was that in 1970, I joined the board of the organization called Cotter and Company, which became True Value.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a worldwide organization. We had stores in peculiar places like Europe, and we even had one in Africa, and we had some in Central America, and we even had some in the South Pacific. And so it was for 25 years I served on that board.
Wow.
And it was, of course, a wonderful experience for me. It broadened me and made me interested in doing what I really wanted to do, which was do volunteer work in developing countries. And through the years, and particularly with the cooperation with the Institute of Cultural Affairs based in Chicago, and also Rotary International, Joyce and I were able to do over 40 trips into developing countries doing volunteer work.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, you know, I had almost forgotten about that connection with you and I, because the ICA was a group that I studied in my graduate studies up at Antioch.
Yes.
And in fact, ICA is now involved in the International Association of Facilitators.
Mm-hmm.
And Kathleen and I did their program last year when they did the conference up in Portland.
Yes.
So we're members of the IAF.
Yeah.
So yeah,
ICA.
They do wonderful
Institute
work.
of Cultural Affairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from, you know, having that kind of breadth of experience, tell me a little bit, you know, how has that, what have you been able to bring back to your business in terms of that, in terms of how, you know, the perspective that you know, have the perspective that you're managing, and, you know, because so many small business owners, either because of necessity or just because of their opportunities, you know, they operate their business and that's it. Mm-hmm. You know, and maybe they go to Rotary on Wednesday mornings, you know, or Wednesday at noon or something, but they don't get that opportunity, or they don't create that opportunity. And I think that when business owners have this kind of experience that you've had, it gives you the ability to produce a business that has much more depth and breadth. You know, while we were starting this morning, a plumber came in and said, you know, everything that I need I find here at your hardware store. You know, you've got a lot of depth of inventory, and that's the kind of thing when you have a store that's this old, how you stock things, how you run things, how you maintain things. You know, am I on the right track with that?
Well, yes, yes. The important thing that I think has been manifested in our business is the continual reinvestment of the earnings of the business into the business. So when I look around the store today and compare that with the stores of my childhood, particularly The two stores that we have had now since 1926, and the breadth of service which we have been able to give to Coos County residents has grown. And I believe part of that has been as a result of our seeing the needs of the world and attempting to be of service to those needs. And to it's been a wonderful, wonderful life that we've had as a result of those experiences.
I know you did a lot of water projects.
Yes, that's the way that we got started, because of course we have a big part of our business since the 1930s has been in water supply to residents as well as commercial and otherwise. And like you could say Gould's Pump company, that is the oldest of the manufacturers of pumping supplies, has always been a big factor. And the important thing is that when you're in that pumping business, that you understand the needs, but also the how to adjust the system in order to supply the needs that are there, wherever the needs are. Right. And that was what I did for a lot of the work in volunteering.
Right. So, and you're not just selling pipes and pumps. You, because of the varied experience and the years of experience both overseas and here, you know what's needed, and you're able to adjust big equipment based on the needs. Okay, great. And now, so how big are your stores? How many? What's the square footage of your stores?
Well, this building is 22,000 square feet.
Wow.
And our Coquille store is 10,000.
10,000. And how many employees in each of the?
Well, overall, and our employees move between the stores.
Oh, okay.
Some.
That's good.
We have almost 30 employees.
Almost 30 employees. Okay. And can you describe how your business and management style has evolved over these years? I mean, given your education and given, all of the different, on the ways that business has evolved, I mean, is there any, do you have a sense on how that's changed?
The biggest change, and I think it has made the management change so much, was the introduction of computers. And I am so thankful that Jay came along at that period of time. And there isn't anyone that I know of that is more knowledgeable about how to adjust the computers to a business than Jay.
Inventory control, among 100 other things.
Well, the thousands of other things.
In a business like the hardware business,
he does.
Inventory. Do you have any rough idea of your SKUs?
We say about 30,000. We have over double that available to us from True Value. So there's
a lot more that can be immediately received. And so as the company has grown and technology has advanced, how have you, we talked a little bit about the computers, but what do you see moving forward here? What's the cutting edge looking forward here, and how are you using your technology in terms of, say, stock control? Because there's been a big changes in, if you have a lot of assets tied up in inventory and the inventory isn't turning, now there's things, and there has been, this is not new, but what's the inventory per square foot, what's the turn ratios, and because, Sometimes you need cash more than shovels.
In a business like ours, in a retail business, the major investment that we have is in inventory. And so if that asset is not turning, you have a real cash flow problem. You have a return on investment problem that can kill a business. On the other hand, in a business like ours, as with the plumber that you met this morning, it's important that we have some of those items that are very unusual.
Right. And therein
and are very slow turn.
That's the rub right in there.
And so there's a balancing act between your asset management of the biggest asset that you have in a retail environment, which is inventory. But beyond that, we also have, of course, the human factor that interacts with the public and is very critical in a retail environment.
Yes.
And the management style of our company has always been a very hands-on management. That is to say, there's nothing that any of my employees, any of our employees that do on a daily basis that I haven't done. And so it's more of a follow the leader than pushing people or managing people or disciplining.
Right. Some people say you can't manage people. You can try, but the more that you try, sometimes the worse the result.
Yeah.
And in any way that collaborative, self-managing teams, that people are inspired themselves. They want to do it or they don't want to do it. You can ask them to do it. You can fire them if they won't do it. But ultimately, people have to be self-motivated.
That's correct. And because of that, we have some very long-term employees, and we value that part of our business that maintains people working with us who have a very broad knowledge base as well and experience base. So if you look around our floor, sales floor, we don't have very many non-gray haired employees. We have people with experience who've done things that they can explain and help a customer.
And that differentiates you from, say, more mass merchandisers who may have stock, but the people don't have the experience. They don't know what it is. You want it? Here's how much it costs.
Well, the secret, the whole secret to our success is service to our customers. If someone comes in and they want a hardware-related item, but we don't have it and no one in town has it, they come to Jay, and he's the one that usually solves the problem. And Jay will find a source for it and get it for them. And that has been the keystone, in my opinion, to the success of this business for 92 years.
Right. It's meeting the needs of people on a day-to-day basis, while at the same time maintaining the perspective for planning and looking out. And you were telling me earlier that the fifth generation is now getting
That's
involved.
correct. I'm in partnership with my cousin and my second cousin.
And that's Mary Woolley and
Jim Farr.
And Jim Farr, right?
And Jim's two kids, who are both in high school, are working now on weekends and
that's great.
days off.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate you giving me this time and for sharing with me your stories. And
it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, John.
Thank
yes,
you.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for joining us today on Business Conversations. Thank you very much.